Hello world, this is Jaden's Videos, and today I am reviewing the new for 2021 Home Depot 12-foot Inferno Pumpkin Skeleton. This prop is, first off, let me just say, amazing. I just got this today at Home Depot for $350. I know it's a hefty price tag, but for this guy I think it's worth it, but I will get into the price a little bit later on. For now, I just want to go over him and discuss how cool he is, and don't worry, near the end of the review I will show a shot at night so you can see his lights and stuff better. But for the case of showing his detail and discussing the prop as a whole, I want to show him during the day. Now, I was able to get this guy on August 30th, which is perfect because I decorate my house on September 1st, and he was a focal point I want in my decorations this year. So I'm really happy that I was able to get him on time for that. He is massive. He's basically just like the pumpkin, just like the 12-foot skeleton from last year that was an absolutely fantastic seller and really changed the industry a lot. He's a lot like him in the fact that he's the same size and he's got the digit eyes and everything. And same build, except he's also different because for one he's a pumpkin, but also he has a flame effect in his mouth and his chest, which I think is really cool. Now I don't know which one I like better. Though I bought this one, I only bought this one just because personally I like pumpkins more and I will use pumpkins more often than a skeleton. Also, I think, though since I'm doing a haunted mansion haunt this year, he's not going to go in the haunt, of course. I just plan to put him in the front yard as decoration. I think in future years this guy could actually work in a haunt because pumpkins can be this big, whereas a skeleton wouldn't be that big. So it wouldn't, the skeleton can only be used for decoration, whereas the pumpkin can more so be used for decoration and haunts. Like I said, I'm not using him in the haunt this year, of course, since it's a haunted mansion theme, but I took future years into account when purchasing this guy, and I think I could definitely use him in some future haunts. And I just love pumpkins, and I love that whole vibe, so I really liked this guy. He's also got the cool flame effect, which is an added thing. The only thing I like more about the pumpkin is, the skeleton, is that he's more customizable. Sure, you can put costumes and stuff on this guy as well, but the skeleton I just feel would look better customizable. Like you can use the skeleton for a creepy Christmas by putting the Santa outfit on that they sell for him, whereas the pumpkin would be kind of weird for that, though it can still be done. I just think the skeleton works a little bit better for that. But either way, I still really like the pumpkin a lot. He's just massive, and we're just gonna get into it. It's gonna be hard to really show his face up close, but I'm gonna zoom in there and you can just see how cool it looks. It looks like a kind of like a rotten pumpkin. Obviously it's in the shape of a skull because he's called the pumpkin skeleton. He's just so cool. You can see his face there. I don't know if you can see it too well during the day, but he does have his digit eyes, like I said. I'm not really sure if you could see it too well during the day, though. That's why I'm going to do a night shot. But he does have the digit eyes, which I think is one of the coolest parts about him. You can see it fine in the day in real life, but I don't know if you can on camera. But his head just looks absolutely awesome, and it's massive. Everything about this guy is massive. Not only his height, just all of his proportions are huge. You've got his gnarly hands there, which look great. Now, these arms are posable, which is good. I believe the skeletons were posable too. However, with this guy, you're mostly only ever going to have his arms like this just because of the position that they're in, which is kind of a downside. I would like if they were more posable, but it's not really a big deal because he looks good like this. If you look at the chest there, oh, I forgot to mention the flame in the mouth, which you might be able to see a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to do a night shot, so you'll be able to see that better. But you've got the flames in the chest there. They're doing a lot of flame effects on props, Home Depot is. They have the Inferno Reaper, they have the Inferno Scarecrow, and the Inferno Pumpkin Skeleton. So they're really going big with flame effects on props. Now obviously you can see that little white that covers the flames during the day. At night I would assume you won't really be able to tell what that is at all, so that's not really a big deal right there. But his ribcage looks super cool. He's definitely made out of like vines and roots and all sorts of stuff. I just think he looks great. Absolutely enormous prop. You go down here to his legs. These are huge too. These come in a few different pieces, and then you've got his feet there, which kind of look like they're growing out of the ground, which I really like. Detail on this guy's pretty good. It's not extraordinary detail, but also he's 12 feet tall, so no one's really gonna be like, "Ooh, the detail isn't too good on this guy." It looks good for what it is. I know he is weatherproof, just like the skeleton, which is good, so you can have him outside all season, which is great. Really, absolutely enormous. And I know you guys can't really tell on camera. You can't really tell how big this guy is unless you see him in person. But this tree I have in my backyard is an enormous tree, and this guy's like halfway up it. So you can only imagine he's huge. Granted, you don't know how big that tree is, but either way, just trust me that this guy's much bigger than I expected, honestly. Even though I saw the skeleton last year, I forgot how big this would be. He's also got this giant base, so I'm not worried about him falling over at all as long as he has his stakes in the ground. If he doesn't have his stakes in the ground, I'd be a little bit more worried about it. He has some stakes right here, which you put in the ground. You put them in the holes there, and that works. And then he's got this cable which connects to the back there, and that kind of stretches down and connects to the base to keep him sturdy. And then his base is huge. Like, his base alone is absolutely massive to hold him down. I'm not too worried about him falling. If he does, hopefully he'd be alright, since he's literally just all plastic. Since there's no animatronic parts on him, I would assume he'd be alright, but who knows. But he's literally just all plastic, of course, with metal poles as his framework. But I mean, it's good that he's plastic because he'll be much more weather resistant in that way. And it's not a cheap plastic at all. It's a very, very sturdy, good quality plastic here. So they made sure to check the quality on this guy and make it good. Now, one thing about this one, which is great, I don't have the skeleton from last year, but I know that he was battery operated, and that was one of my issues with him, and one of the reasons I didn't get him, actually, because I was like, oh, that kind of sucks, because you're constantly gonna have to be changing the batteries and getting up on a ladder just to change the batteries. They fixed that this year. I don't know if they fixed it on the skeleton too. I would assume it's fixed on the new model of the skeleton. I don't know though. However, he is adapter this year, which is great. So the adapter just plugs in right here, and yes, you can reach this. It's not that hard. It's about, what, like 7 feet off the ground, this up to here, I would say. Or maybe 6.5, I don't really know. It might be 7, maybe 6.5. It's roughly around there. So you can reach it, and you just plug the adapter in. Then he's got his on-off button right there. And the adapter, as you can see, is quite long. So that's a good thing too. Obviously, I'm gonna hide it better when I have him on display, but right now I'm just testing him in the backyard. He's huge. Obviously, it's absolutely fantastic. Now, this next part of the review, also, I never really show boxes in my video, but I know that some people are interested in seeing box size and everything, so I'm going to show you this. His box is huge. However, it's not as big as I expected. I actually expected it to be wider. I would say it's pretty deep. It's a pretty deep box. It's definitely the biggest prop box I own, I think. But I did throw out the Mausoleum Arch box from Home Depot last year when I bought that, and I think that box was actually bigger, which is surprising. But his box is very, very big, so take that into account when purchasing him, is that his box is going to take up a lot of space if you decide to keep the box. I don't know, I honestly might not even keep the box, because what I might do is if it takes up less space to just stack his pieces on top of each other in the corner, I'd rather get rid of this box. Obviously that wouldn't be missing much, because it's not like spirit boxes where they're going to add a bunch of value to it. They're literally just a sticker of the prop on the box, so it's not too big of a deal. But that box is pretty large. Just take that into account. Though it's not as large as I thought it would be, it is extremely large. This guy's setup is kind of complicated, which I didn't expect because of the fact that it just snap lock pulls. It's not complicated in the fact that it's hard. It might just be my fault, because at first I thought it was referring to the back as another. I was putting the poles on facing the wrong direction, and so it was like the whole setup was weird, and it was like, why isn't this lining up? And then it worked fine after that. It's kind of hard to get the screw, because this thing in the back that connects the cable is a screw. It's kind of hard to get that in, but you just gotta kind of force it in and guide it into the thing there. Maybe that was only mine who had difficulty with that. It's really not hard though you probably will need 2 people to do it if you don't want to hurt yourself, because when you're lifting him up, it's very probable that if you have one person doing this, he'll fall down on you, which obviously you don't want. You could set him up by yourself, I would say, because you're supposed to lay him down as you set him up, so I think it could be done by yourself. However, I wouldn't risk it. I especially would not risk. I did a lot of it by myself. I did a lot of it with Mac, and then my dad helped me lift him up. So it's really up to you, but I really think I would highly suggest, I mean, not only is it going to get done faster, but it'll be a lot safer. I highly just suggest, especially when you're picking this guy back up, to have someone help you, or else he might fall on top of you and kill you. Who knows if it's going to kill you, but it's not going to be safe, so just do not try or attempt that. I think it's in your best interest to just get some help when lifting him back up. Really great prop though, and I'll talk more about him when I show him in the dark, because I haven't even seen what he looks like in the dark yet, but I can only imagine it's going to be awesome. So here he is in the dark, which I'm also going to show you him with some lighting on him in the dark in case you're curious about that, and so you can just see him better. But I'm blown away. Like I said earlier in the review, I was torn on whether I like the 12-foot skeleton or the 12-foot pumpkin more. Seeing this guy in the dark made me fully decide I like the 12-foot pumpkin more. Wow. He looks so Halloween-y overall. Like, he's such a Halloween-y looking prop. And you cannot possibly comprehend how cool this looks in person from on camera. It's so bright, and that's a good thing for sure. I didn't want it to be super dim. It's super bright, and the whole thing about being able to see, like I mentioned earlier in the review, the whole thing about being able to see the white that's covering the flame, you can't see it. It looks like there's just orange flames in him. It's freaking awesome. Obviously, his eyes look great as well, though the camera's not really going to be able to pick those up too well. Oh, I can dim it. There you go. Now you can see his eyes. So, his eyes look great, of course, and they are orange, which is cool. The iris is orange, so that's really interesting. He's so fantastic, and I'm going to rate him in a second, but first I'm going to put some lighting on him and show you him with some lighting. I know it's hard to see, but that's simply because he's the only light being emitted right now, but once I get a light on him, you'll be able to see him better. I'm also very curious myself, because I haven't tested it yet, what he'll look like with a light shining up on him, because that's what I plan to do. Even though he emits a lot of light, I also want to shine a light up on him, because you can't really see the full thing. Even though he emits a lot of light, you can't really see the shape of his head or anything without a light on him, so I'm definitely going to shine a light up on him. So we're going to get a light out here and see what that looks like. Now, I was a little bit worried that getting a light on him would actually ruin the effect of the flame lights within him, but it actually doesn't. It just enhances the prop. It makes him look better. As you can see him a lot better, and this is actually brighter than it looks in real life. As I have my camera brightness up all the way. It depends on the light you shine on him, obviously. If you're going to have a dim light, then I think it'll look good. If it's too bright, then it's going to overpower the flame lights, and that won't look too great. I am using what I use for all my lighting, just a standard floodlight. One of the color changing ones you can get off of Amazon, where you can change the color Bluetooth. I mentioned them before, I'm pretty sure. So this one, it's a pretty bright light. If you want the wattage, it's 15 watts, which it's pretty bright. It usually lights up a scene pretty well. But since this guy's so tall, it doesn't light him up too much because of how far it has to reach. And I think that's a good thing, because I didn't want it to light him up too much. And this is probably how I'll do it in my front yard when I set him up there, because I think this looks good. It doesn't overpower the flame light, but it also adds to it. You can see that's cool. I'm going to show you a few different lighting options because I was curious about this myself and I checked out a few of them. I think orange is my favorite, but it's really up to you. I feel like the orange looks best with the character, of course, but I feel like green is also a good option because he's a pumpkin. Green does look cool. However, I don't really like how it makes his head, you can't really tell on the video, but it makes his head look a bit darker, what the green does. That's a little bit of a darker orange, a little bit of a brighter orange. You've also got red, which I think looks pretty cool. He does that sometimes when he resets. Actually, I think that he might have just gotten unplugged a little bit, was what happened there. Purple is another one I actually really like, which I didn't expect. You can obviously do blue and stuff. I don't really like that for him. But to round out this review, I'm just going to have this light on him just so I can talk about him. Really a fantastic prop. I mean, just take a look at how cool he is. One last time. I know this video isn't as professional as the others, but that's just because he's so big that I didn't want to use a tripod, because then I wouldn't be able to maneuver around him as much. He's just such a cool prop, and if you want to get him, I highly recommend you get him. He's going to sell fast, just like the 12-foot skeleton did. He's going to be out of here before you know it, which is why I got him as soon as I saw him. If you want him, go in and get him. At first, I thought I'd regret the purchase. Did not regret it at all. I think it was 100% worth it, and just seeing him in the dark just makes it so much more worth it. So if you want him, get him as soon as you can. Overall, I'm going to rate this guy 10 out of 10. I think he's great. $350. Honestly, though it is a high price, it's not bad for this guy, just because he's so giant and just so cool. I love him. I really hope they continue in these 12-foot line. I don't know, if they made one that overpowers the pumpkin, then I would probably get rid of the pumpkin and get a new one in future years, but we'll just see what they do. I love the pumpkin, though. Absolutely fantastic prop. Great going SVI. You kicked it out of the ballpark with this one. Absolutely love it. So, like I said, 10 out of 10, which obviously means I highly recommend this prop. Definitely one of the best of the year, I think. And surprisingly, it's not from Spirit. But Home Depot definitely is a big competitor, and I love Home Depot stuff. Great prop. highly recommend it. I hope you all enjoyed this review. And also stay tuned to my Instagram if you want to see progress of the decorating, because the decoration video doesn't actually go up until October 1st. But you can see the progress of the decorating if you go to my Instagram, which is in the description down below. I hope you all enjoyed. Keep howling at the moon, my werewolves.